The Bank of England supply reassurance. Hi everyone and welcome to Ainslie Insights, brought to you by Ainslie Bullion, Ainslie Crypto and the Gold and Silver Standard. Today, welcome back Sam. Now, he's been looking at this topic again about what's going on with gold, particularly when you look at gold in London. It's very interesting and it's something that's been playing on my mind quite a lot. How are you going today, Sam?
Good, Chris. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Now, this article that you've written recently, like another one to back up what you talked about previously, now the Bank of England seems to be coming out reassuring that they can deliver on gold. Talk to us about that because this is starting to blow my mind.
Well, they've tried to reassure. So the deputy governor has given a speech which is going viral now because he looks like he's essentially covered in sweat and just stuttering and saying every other couple of words. I had to transcribe what he wrote for the article, and I have to admit it was quite painful putting in so many ums. But he was talking about deliveries and deliveries taking a little bit longer and having a lorry backed up to load all the gold. And one of his excuses was, hey, it's heavy stuff, so it's going to take a while. And that's going from a couple of days to a couple of months, essentially. So the question he was given was a pretty softball question as well. It was essentially just blaming the tariffs for everything, as if there's, I guess you could say, going to be a tariff on gold, which the media keeps beating on as well.
And let's dig into that a little bit more because you really sort of changed my perspective on this when you talked about this to me, talked about this last time with me. Because this idea that potentially there could be the US imposing tariffs on gold, you say that's completely not credible because it doesn't make any logical sense. And when I went back and thought about that, you were really right there because these arguments that the US will be saying, no, don't send me your gold, they just don't make any sense at all.
Yeah, and then you look at cases, a lot of people are remembering what happened with Germany taking so long to get their gold back. So even if it wasn't the US's gold, they would still want to hold it. Why would the U.S. want to tariff, Americans getting their own gold shipped in? It doesn't make sense. What would they do next? Poison the water or something? It doesn't. Why would you damage America like that? It just makes no logical sense if Trump were to do that.
I mean, I suppose some of the pushback on that would be that lots of these things don't necessarily make logical sense when it comes to tariffs, but you can usually see a bigger picture argument as to why the administration would go down that path because it does generally lead to at least some strategic benefit, whereas what you're saying there, it just simply wouldn't, would it? Like there's no benefit whatsoever to stopping people holding their gold on US soil, or for that matter, any country would want that to be the case.
Yes, because it's a monetary metal. I mean, if you look at something like steel, the US can make steel. Okay, so it's a benefit to U.S. businesses. It's a benefit to potentially Trump to say, look, I'm going to support the steel industry and I'm going to make sure people have to buy your steel. And, it's getting votes, it's getting support, it's potentially keeping money in the country or trying to reestablish an industrial base. Whether or not that's a good idea economically, there's at least a method to the madness. But a monetary metal like gold, that's just pretty much used as a store of value. They'd want as much of that as possible. There wouldn't be any logical reason to say, no, we'll make American gold or something like that. It doesn't really make sense.
And if all of that is true, then what is going on here? Is it just that people are misreading the situation, or does this increased demand for gold delivery from these vaults indicate that there's actually deeper issues at play here?
Well, one of the big issues is the paper to gold ratio, which just keeps increasing. Last time I checked, it was going on about 127 to 128 to 1. So if you think you own gold, of 127 ounces, you probably actually own 1 ounce if you actually try to claim that physical gold. So there could be a little bit of a race to get physical gold before there's a run on gold and it actually becomes too hard to get physical gold. So that's one of the things that gold bugs have been covering for a very long time. And now it's just the point where we might actually see enough problems and enough volatility to be sparking that that fear into reality where people are saying, okay, well, that is the case, but I want to get my physical now because something might, we might blow a fuse, and I don't want to be the one left holding paper.
And I was having this exact discussion yesterday, really digging in a bit further on that point that you just made. This isn't the first time we've heard this. Like, there's been arguments about the shorting, the suppressed markets, all of those things for a very long time, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. I mean, is this potentially, in your mind, enough stuff going on that this could be the time that something actually happens there? That's probably the first part of my question, because that was the argument that I was making when I was having this discussion yesterday. And the second part is, even if you're wrong, does it hurt to protect yourself in that environment? Because when that eventually happens, and it seems that at some point it will happen, you're not going to want to be trying to get that physical gold out of that system when it's simply too late. Because once that bubble pops, it's not going to be a slow and orderly process, I wouldn't imagine.
That's a good way to frame that, I guess. Will it happen? Well, look, I can't guarantee anything in a short time frame, at least. You could almost guarantee it in a longer time frame, and that's something you'll see as well. If you talk to people from different countries, it's amazing. You talk to people in Australia, and one of their questions is, why would anyone buy gold, or why would anyone hedge? Or, what's the point of Bitcoin? And lots of questions along these lines. Whereas if you talk to people in Southeast Asia, in India, and all these places in the Middle East, they've seen fiat currencies come and go, just like again and again and again. So if you ask them, why would you buy gold? You'd almost get laughed at. It's like, why wouldn't you, buy gold? You have to. Governments and currencies come and go all the time, so you have to be ready. So it's just a time frame, I guess. It would be irresponsible for me to say, yeah, everyone panic and you have to buy now because it's going to end tomorrow. I know some people are happy to say that, on a weekly basis, it seems like, and once in a while they're right. But will this be the thing that unravels the gold market? Well, I mean, you look at the paper to gold ratio increasing. You look at paper to silver just in the last approximately year. Silver is even worse. Silver's gone from silver was about 300 to 1. Now it's almost 400 to 1 across a year. So it shows that the paper shorting's getting almost out of control. And for it to be increasing that much, it's a worrying sign. It looks like it potentially might not be able to be restricted anymore. And then you also have to factor in with Besant talking in the Oval Office recently about monetizing the assets of the United States. Is this all part of some bigger plan where they're trying to get all the assets of the United States in the United States and then try to do something like, I don't know, revalue gold or let the price run loose? After all, one of Besant's biggest holdings was gold bullion, from what I've heard from his hedge fund days. So who knows what the plan is, but things are looking, look at the gold price. It's just going out of control.
It certainly just keeps marching onwards and upwards. And with what you just said about Besant there, it's really interesting as well, because I was reading this morning rumours again, wild speculation, but about the Elon Musk and the Doge team talking potentially to Ron Paul about auditing the Fed. And you go, what timeline are we living on? Because we know, like, when you think about his argument the whole time, it's been that we need sound money, we need to come back to that foundation. So when you talk about a bigger plan at foot, it's potentially in the works, isn't it?
Yes, we'll see what happens with that as well, because I'm sure a lot of the viewers are familiar with the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, but maybe not a lot of them know Creature from Jekyll Island was a plagiarized version of Secrets of the Federal Reserve, which was the original. And the Creature from Jekyll Island's conclusion was a lot different from the original book, which said we need to end the Fed. The Creature from Jekyll Island's point was essentially we need better people in charge of the central bank. That was kind of the point of the book, which was a little bit weak. And when Ron Paul had a chance to endorse one of the books, apparently he endorsed The Creature from Jekyll Island. So we'll see how hardcore he really goes. But I have to give credit where credit's due. Going after the Fed in any way, shape, or form, even verbally, is very dangerous. So they're doing a pretty big leap of faith by auditing the Fed. Some people say we need to audit and then end the Fed, but at least this is a big step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Well, whichever way that goes, it's certainly something that people in the gold sort of area, that whether you're an investor or involved in the industry in whatever way, it's been something that's played in the back of your mind for a long time. But to see potentially that coming to front and center in the discussion is just a fascinating time to live through.
Absolutely.
Well, look, we'll continue this discussion, no doubt, as it all continues to unfold. But thank you again for all your work on this today, Sam. Really appreciate keeping us up to date on that.
No problem, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll chat again soon.